Kemon Spell just decommitted from Penn State after they fired head coach James Franklin. We're going to take a look at what he's been doing so far his junior season. We watched his sophomore film on this channel, and you can just tell this is not only one of the best sophomore running backs in the country, but really one of the best football players in the country, regardless of age, regardless of position. So we're going to take a look at his junior year. I just wanted to give some added context of what's been going on. He played very well against Delaware Valley, got hurt towards the end of that game. Ankle injury, missed the next couple games. He might have got hurt the week after. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he did miss time with an ankle injury. Then he came back, I think, against Hampton, and then played against West Mifflin. And you could just kind of tell he's just a bit injured, right? The way the cuts happened, they were a bit slow. He was a bit slow hitting the hole. This game against Mars, he's still very effective in those two games, don't get me wrong. And then this last game against Mars, this happened on Friday. We're going to take a look at some film from that game later. You can tell he's at 100% now. Completely recovered. We're going to take a look at what he did against Mars later, but this is the first game against Delaware Valley. We're only going to watch two games, and I know I called it a junior year season. It's a whole season. It's not a whole season. It's 2 games, but we have 4 minutes of clips, so I think we have enough to work with here. Anyways, what I think makes Kemon Spell such a good running back, you guys feel free to let me know, but it all begins with the frame. At 5'9", 205, he's got such a low center of gravity. He's such a physical running back. And it's not only because of the weight room. You could tell this dude takes the weight room very serious, just the way that he's built, but also very naturally, at 5'9", I think he's just got the perfect running back frame. It's like the Saquon Barkley type frame when he was at Penn State. Just that very squat build, looks like they're just built to run through arm tackles. That's what gets you started with Kemon Spell, but I think what is going to make him, or what makes him one of the best prospects in the country, like I said, regardless of age, regardless of position, it's just the athleticism. And I hate to say, he's just a good athlete, because it's very broad, where he's a very broad athlete. Everything that he does athletically just happens so easily. The change of direction, the explosiveness, the long speed. When you have all that top flight athleticism and you combine it in a kid that's 5'9", 205 and runs with the amount of physicality that he does, that's when we start talking about a kid that's not only going to be a big time recruit or, contribute down the line. We're talking about a kid that's ready to make an impact in the college football game, next year. This dude's supposed to be in the class of 2027, and I haven't heard the conversations at whether he's going to reclass or not. I haven't heard anything about that. This is pure King Cold speculation. Man, this kid should reclass. If I'm Georgia, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm Notre Dame, one of these teams that's recruiting him, I'm not only trying to recruit him to join my team in the future, I'm trying to get him on my team next year, in 2026, because this is a kid that's going to make an impact. Whenever he plays college football, he could make an impact if he's playing college football right now in 2025 as a junior in high school. So this is a kid, in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's like, it depends on a lot of different things, but I do think this is a kid that, at least football-wise, athletically, and then certainly physically, is a kid that's ready to compete at the college football level now, and then definitely in 2026. But this is the next game that just happened 2-3 days ago, and just every time he touches the ball, you just start feeling bad for these high school kids. They got to be in class all day. They eat that shitty-ass cafeteria lunch, and then all of a sudden they got to try to tackle Kemon Spell. I just wouldn't show up for the game, to be honest, because he's a very punishing running back. He's a punishing running back if you get your hands on him. A lot of times he's just outrunning everybody, and then you're going to see him, a kid will be in a good position to make a tackle on him, and it just doesn't happen because of how strong of a football player he is. And, he's not going to be playing receiver at the next level. Obviously, he's getting recruited as a running back. Look at how smooth this route is. The way that he stacks this fade here, I almost was kind of shocked, to be honest, because he doesn't do that in high school, right? He plays a lot of running back. How smooth that route was. Like I said, it's all athleticism. This dude's such a good athlete. Like I said, I know it's broad. I hate just saying, he's a good athlete, but it's really everything that you look for in a running back. One thing I highlighted on the sophomore film, I didn't say I was worried about it, but one thing that might be a bit of a concern is, he kind of plays that fullback position in high school, so he's just slamming into the A-gap every time. There's a bit more nuance at the next level if you're going to be running a zone scheme, right, where you're trying to read the holes. I think you've been seeing a bit more of that on the junior year film. They kind of use him in the shotgun a lot more than they did sophomore season. I was never worried about it. It's just an interesting, point to think about. But you can tell how fast this cutback has. This looks like zone off the top of my head. No, somebody pulled. My bad. Anyways, there's a couple. I'm not even going to talk about it because it's not a real big deal. Anyways, that was Kemon Spell. You guys let me know what you think about him. I'm not really sure there's going to be that much difference of an opinion because it's kind of easy to see how good of a football player he is. Now the fun stuff happens. Now we get to follow his recruitment and see where he actually goes because, it's going to be very exciting to see because, like I said, this is a dude that's going to make an impact the second he steps on the college football field. You guys let me know what you think about him. Thanks for watching.